It should be enough, don't you think?
Welcome, everybody. It's 5:30, and we're going to start the workshop for the Mayor and Alderman meeting for December the 5th. This is Novermber the 30th, and we're going to start the workshop. First, we got a citizens forum. Everybody needs to look at the bulletin board, the rules of conduct, and it will be enforced tonight. The people that comes up to speak, please say your name and address for the record. First is Leanne Haynes. She come up and speak. I think she's done left for the day, but the next one will be Bob Kruger. Mr. Bob?
Yes. Speak fast. You can listen fast. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Aldermen. I have a prepared note here. I'm taking this opportunity to talk to you about the construction problems that we have in the Blair Road corridor, dealing with multi-family housing development. It's a problem for the city, it's a problem for the developers, and it's a problem for the people who live in an immediate and surrounding area. We have had multiple development plans submitted to the city with numerous city meetings, announced neighborhood meetings, and unannounced neighborhood strategy meetings. The city receives complaints. Developers go to the expense of having plans and meetings only to have their plans in most cases disapproved. And residents are continually upset and very disappointed at the various scenarios and non-action to improve Blair Road over the years. The main problem is simply that the area does not have suitable infrastructure to support any housing expansion. Blair Road is already a safety disaster and cannot support existing site. There is either no or insufficient basic infrastructure such as water, sewer, or drainage control. The present family construction plan in that area calls for construction of many homes in Smyrna and Laverne. And those homes are to be built in Laverne will be having their infrastructure facility support come from Smyrna because Laverne's inability to provide them. There will be continued pressure to build in the Blair Road corridor, so we need to be proactive in planning. That planning is far overdue. I suggest that the city call for a moratorium of all multi-family development in that area to continue until such time as Laverne has complete sufficient infrastructure in place and operational for developments planned. To coincide with the moratorium, there would be a 5-year, 7-year, or whatever is needed plan to have the infrastructure in place and operational. A committee should be formed that would include representatives of the developers and of the residents, perhaps as non-voting members, but to get them involved in a partnership with the city. Such a proactive, planned, and organized positive action would be so much better than what we are going under now. I also believe that handling that problem in this manner would be a very favorable reflection of the city of Laverne. It gets everybody involved. And that way, the homeowners would be able to know what's happening in the future. Developers would know what's happening in the future. They could plan accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else on the citizen forum. I call the citizen forum over, and we're going to start the Mayor and Aldermen Workshop. I've got the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance is with Vice Mayor Green. We need to look over our minutes for November the 7th, 2017 regular meeting. And we have, Tuesday night, we have 3 presentations. That's meeting only. That puts us down to consent agenda, number 4. And A is approved city bids and purchases, bids for Lower East Hurricane Creek Interception Sewer Line Project. Mr. Hall.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. It's good to see you all. We accepted bids for the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor Sewer, and the low bidder was W&O Construction Company with a bid of $1,571,864. My estimate prior to the bid was $1.5 million. We did have 5 bids offered, and their bid was substantially lower than even the second bid. Both the city and CTI have a successful work history with W&O Construction Company, and it's our recommendation that the Lower East Hurricane Creek Interceptor Sewer be awarded to W&O Construction Company in the amount bid, $1.571864.
Any questions for Mr. Hall while he's up there?
Thank you.
That puts us down to B, approved grant contract with the Tennessee Department of Safety, Homeland Security for an alcohol countermeasure highway safety project. That kind of sounds like a police.
It is, Mayor. It's 100% funds to reimburse us for overtime to work alcohol saturation patrols and sobriety checkpoints.
Any question? I think that's something that's done every year, ain't it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. This is our typical GHSO grant, but it's $20,000 more this year than it was last federal fiscal year.
Okay. Any question for the chief? We'll move on to C. Approve proposal for the PCS mobile for the police department radio equipment maintenance.
That's actually a contract that we have that's an annual contract. This is a renewal for our laptops and all the equipment we have from PCS Mobile in our vehicles. It includes our arbitrator camera systems as well, maintenance on them.
That's something, again, we do each year, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Any questions on the police radio equipment? That puts us down to D, approve a maintenance and support agreement with San Fran More for track for the police department automated fingerprint identification system. Is this a new?
This is an annual maintenance contract too, and it's for our APHIS system that we use, the electronic fingerprint system. That was about a $30,000 investment we made 2 years ago, I believe that's right, when we replaced the old one. And then we have some mobile devices too that would be included on that for any upgrades, any software upgrades, et cetera, that they do.
Was that a
maintenance.
budgeted item?
Yes, sir. All of these things were budgeted.
Okay.
The PCS Mobile and the Morpho track.
Any question on D? That moves down to E, approve change order number 1 for the Paul filtration system module replacement and system upgrade. Jamie.
Hey there, Mayor, Vice Mayor Alderman, good evening. This change order is based on the initial proposal that we submitted last month. Paul Corporation, as their item 1, came out and did an inspection of the overall system. They found a few things that also need to be repaired and upgraded to maintain the system integrity, mostly related to the compressor that operates the valves and flushes the system. It's a very important piece to maintain the operation once the membranes, or I'm sorry, the modules are replaced. If it's not replaced, then those items would be damaged easily right off the bat. So these are just some items that they found doing their due diligence inspection. The total amount, well, the change order was broken out into 2 pieces. The compressor had a lead time issue. They had 2 left in stock when they told us earlier this week. That was down to 1 this morning. So we went ahead and had them reserve one of those for us. So the first, the 1.1A, that amount is $26,432. And then for the compressor itself is $13,150. Do you all have any questions?
You got any questions for Jamie?
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. That ends the,
One more item.
number one.
One more item.
Huh?
One more item.
Got one more?
The meeting calendar.
Letter F.
Letter L. Okay, I thought, oh, to approve the, meeting calendar for 2008, yeah. Look this calendar over, and make sure no dates is conflict with anything. I think me and you talked earlier about the November, we're gonna, schedule not having a November meeting because it falls in the election and Thanksgiving and,
That's going to be my recommendation, because of the way the election falls and the days of the week fall. If we postpone the meeting 2 weeks like we normally would, the meeting would be on the week of Thanksgiving. And then the following week, we would have another workshop. And, you know, there wouldn't be much time to really have any new business come up in that frame of time.
Bruce, the only concern with that for me is, with the charter, it says that we can change the date for holidays for valid reasons, but it doesn't say we can just cancel out meetings.
I'm not sure that the charter even states that. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, it's Municipal Charter 1-101,
Well, that'd be the municipal code, not the charter.
Municipal Code, I'm sorry.
I'd have to look that up. I don't have it.
well, we can look it up between now and Tuesday and see the technicalities of it. If
I
it's
think the mayor
it's not in the
has authority
charter,
to set meetings as needed, so we'll look at that, Evan, and I'll certainly look into that.
Yeah.
See if that would be a violation of anything.
that puts us down to, new business number 5. First reading ordinance 2017-24. This is an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2017-2018 general fund budget for the purchases of a fire department pumper truck. This one is the one, the demo truck, right?
Yes, sir. This is the demo.
And it's in Nashville now,
It's supposed to be there tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Be there tomorrow
deal.
to start putting the extra equipment on it that was not already on it. And then they'll start transferring the equipment that we're gonna move off of the old engine one onto it. So probably two weeks, probably. We should be.
This is the one to replace the backup truck.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Good deal.
Yes, sir. And then we'll be able to, at that point, we'll be able to start doing our surplus on the other 2 trucks. So, and we'll.
You don't know when it'll be ready? Couple weeks, maybe?
I'd say about a week on, they've got to put a monitor on it, a deck monitor, a big water cannon. That'll take them about a week probably. That's a pretty hard refit. So that'll probably take them a week. And I'd say it's a good 2 weeks, a week and a half to 2 weeks to swap equipment off of the other truck and onto that one. But hopefully, it'd be sooner than later would be great for us. It's been a hassle juggling things back and forth and very confusing sometimes when you have engine 1 running out of station 3 and then you have squad 3 running out of station 2. So, but yeah, hopefully, I would say no later than 3 weeks out.
We've been waiting, anticipating that truck for months, so
Yes.
maybe we'll get it. We're down to number 6, first reading ordinance 2017-25. This is an ordinance to amend the Title 20, Chapter 2, Section 2-208 of the Laverne Municipal Code regarding park and recreation user fees. Who's got this one? Bruce?
You go ahead.
Won't really rather than, since we're not running any of the leagues anymore, and it's nonprofit organizations doing all of it, it's easier for us to charge a flat fee rather than to chase half of concessions or whatever the percentages that we come up with. So, we're looking at doing, you know, the same thing that we had for baseball and softball last year, fee-wise, and then, similar thing for football and for, the inline hockey. You know, just to make things easier for everybody involved. They'll still be required to give receipts and, you know, totals and everything, but we'll charge a flat fee, and in some years it may be better or worse, depending, but it's all gonna be negligible, it's gonna be very close all the way around, so.
But I mean, still, it doesn't gonna affect the rental of the pavilions or the buildings or anything.
No, we're talking mainly hockey and football and softball and
Okay.
baseball, but no, as far as everything else goes, all that's still the same.
Okay.
But
Good
it-
We
deal.
are gonna change possibly the deposit for, rental of multipurpose buildings because, $100 deposit, people tend to just go, well, you know what, we'll let them keep the money, and then they don't clean up, and they might tear something up that costs us 4 hours of work or even more than that to repair. So if we charge a $200 deposit, maybe, you know, people will be a little more conscientious about how they, you know, treat the building.
This also adds in a different tournament fee for single-day tournaments, which is going to be $750, whereas the full weekend fee is $1,500. And also, we were also adding the fees for the rental of the pavilions into this ordinance as well, because that was not already in this chapter, and it should have been. And I think those are all the changes that we've made.
But the average person that rents something, it's not gonna really affect them.
No, other than just deposit, and we don't do deposits on the pavilions anyway, but just basically the multi-purpose now that fire has the city, so.
Okay. Any questions on that? Number 7, resolution 2017-26, a resolution of the City of Laverne Board of Mayor and Aldermen to declare property owned by the city to be surplus to the city needs and directing disposal of the same. What do we got to sale?
This is all public works items. Most of them, I believe, are inoperable, but there's just things that they're needing to get rid of that they no longer use in the public works department.
Any questions on the surplus item? Number 8, resolution 2017-27. This is a resolution to authorize the mayor to enter in a contract for the purchase of real estate property for future Fire Station 1 and headquarters facility. I take it this is the property across from the Civic Auditorium, maybe?
Yes, sir. If you remember, there was a piece of property that we purchased during the transition from private fire to municipal. The small piece right there across from the Civic Auditorium. We've been keeping it maintained. Garland and them been keeping it cut for us there. At the time that was purchased, though, the church was not willing to sell any more of that property. They were going to use it for the ball fields on that side that they want to develop for their youth program. When we found out that the property, the glass contractor property, was kind of misrepresented as to how much land was there. If you remember what we showed y'all in the actual ad said approximately 3 acres. The more we got to looking into it and at it, that was actually 1.5 acres there. So it wasn't even close to being what we needed. By the time we put green space and parking space, there wouldn't even been enough room to build onto the rest of the building what we needed, much less build be dealing with a training tower. So we approached the church again just to see if there'd have been any mindset change, and they were very attentive and immediately wanted to talk about selling more property. So what we recommended that we would like to get from them is to be able to buy in a straight line all the way back to the Donnie Fergus property, which is the second tree line. The first one there is where we buy now. If you go beyond that, it's where their ball field used to be. You can see a backstop still back there. but then it goes back all the way straight back to Donnie Fergus to the second tree line. So what we're proposing is buying that straight back to that area. Chris, what was the total? 3.09 acres. And with what we already have, that put us at 4.3. 4.9.
4.3.
4.3, sorry, 4.3. We've laid out, I think there's actually there's a drawing in the,
If you go down the next page, Glenn, there's a drawing. You have to zoom out a bit.
as you can see there from at the bottom of your screen is, get my bearings straight right here.
Old Nashville's at the top.
Right, right. And it's just a straight shot back is what we've done there. As close as we could get it anyway. The appraiser has, I think he's supposed to get back with us on the 12th with an appraisal amount. We were given an original number from the church. I think we'll wait till the appraisal comes back and then we'll talk about numbers a little more, but it was not a crazy number, but I think we can do a little bit better than where we were at. But it would serve for us. It would serve for us to be able to put the headquarters there with the training facility that we need, big enough to so that even the police department, before they get a facility built, we'd be able to do large scale trainings. We'd be able to build a headquarters that had a 100+ seating area for training classes and things. And it also would give us enough room to put our fire training tower in the rear section of the property. Mr. Ferguson actually ran into me at Lowe's a few days ago, and he had seen the stakes driven and the appraisal being done, and was desperately afraid that it was apartments or something like that going in. So when he found out that it was us that was looking towards buying that piece of property and what we were wanting to use it for and do, he said he would definitely be here if it did come to fruition, to let everybody know that he is highly recommended that happen. So he was pretty ecstatic that we were looking at getting the property. So obviously the people surrounding it's not got any issues with it. The church actually is going to put their ball fields over more behind the church itself on that piece of property. So, but that's kind of where we are at this point. It's just waiting on the appraisal to come in and then bring it back before y'all so that we can let the mayor do a little negotiating on the property.
And then you mentioned when we spoke that some of our state officials were looking at assisting as far as with the building of it with some grants.
Yes, sir. When we, Representative Sparks approached me, I think it was 2 meetings back, was one of the meetings that he was here. He actually approached me about my thoughts on a regional training facility being at that location. That would be very easily done. The cost increase of going to a facility that would be able to do regional training versus the cost of a building for us just to do our own in-house training, you're not looking at a whole lot of difference in cost there. The benefit of that would be that we would have other departments coming in to do training. So obviously you'd have an influx. Mr. Jones, we've talked about that as well. It almost would pay for our training to be able to train others. Their cost to come in and train would be paying for us to be able to get the training as well for free. Mr. Sparks said that him and at least one other of the representatives would be more than happy to carry that on up the ladder and possibly be able to get us, as long as we would do it as a regional facility, open it up regional wide for the training, to help us get anywhere between $250,000 and $500,000 to help build that facility. So there's an option there for us to reach out a little bit and get some money from the state to do that.
And the police department would be able to use that
Yes,
facility
when we
as
looked
well?
at the training facility itself, we did keep our brothers in blue in mind there. what we have looked at, and obviously we would have to tweak it around a little more and actually get with them. The company that we were looking at doing this fire training facility for us, they're also able to make one of the floors of the 4-story part of the training facility would be a clean room, but it would also be able to be set up for police department to be able to clear using simunition and things like that. They have walls that can be moved around in it. It has multiple rappel stations in it for them to do rappelling. I mean, there were all kind of different things. They'd be able to do live gas training in a facility like that. So we made sure that there were some. It's also got a built-in on the bottom floor a confined space facility in it. So we could even do training as well with our public works department and their people in confined space and things like that. So we weren't just looking at trying to get something that we could do just for fire. We were trying to get a broad spectrum of a facility so that the other agencies could benefit as well. And then, as I said, the classroom itself, I know Chief has had problems. We've had problems. Our Station 3 was basically the training facility for the city, classroom-wise. There's only 30 seats in it. We can't even put our whole fire department in for a training in that room now at one time. The police department obviously can't do that. So we really don't have a facility to be able, we're borrowing facilities like Ajax Turner and things like that to be able to hold big trainings such as that. So that headquarters building being able to be built on a piece of property this size, it would accommodate that training center there as well.
Any further questions for Ricky?
I do. On this resolution, it doesn't say like kind of a price ceiling, and so I understand you might not want to give us the exact price that you've been quoted because you haven't had the assessor or the surveyor come out. But can we get a ballpark so we know how much money we're?
I can give them. I guess it's okay for me to give the monetary amount, correct?
Well, keep in mind that this was their initial
Right.
offer, demand, whatever you want to call it. We don't have any kind of final price, and we're kind of waiting to get that appraisal back before we really negotiate with the owners. But yeah, I mean, you can give them what we've been asked to pay.
Right. Their original asking price for that amount of property there was $650,000. And if I remember correctly, the piece that was purchased by private fire, I want to say was $250,000. So we're still, and even in that was a purchase and a donation to the church. So I have no idea what the donation amount was, but at any rate, it was, so that piece of property did cost more.
With the other piece, now that was road front, so
That was road frontage.
That might have been, but it's been quite a few years ago.
Correct. Yes, sir. It has.
Well, I know me, you and Chris, we beat the bushes all over town trying to find a place. But
It's just,
we keep coming back to that area.
The property is being bought, and it's being bought up rapidly.
Yeah.
We've run into all kind of people, Chris, every day. It seems like we talk to somebody and the next day we talk to somebody else who's talking about buying the same piece of property. So, people are really taking advantage.
One thing we have found out, you look at today and it's gone tomorrow.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's a hot area and property is going quick. So, if we wait too much, we won't be nothing.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
We'll be to put anything. So,
not that my opinion means everything in this, but due to the fact that we already own the front section of it, it would only make sense, to be able to connect with the other section.
And y'all have definitely outgrown Station 1 for sure.
Oh, Lord, yes. We probably needed to have been out of there 8 or 10 years ago.
Any further questions on number 8? Number 9 is a resolution 2017-28, a resolution of support for the I-24 Smart Corridor project concept and funding plan. Who's got this one?
I can speak about this one a little bit. A little over a year ago, maybe a year and a half, I don't remember the exact time frame, TDOT approached approached the county, Murfreesboro, Smyrna, Laverne, of course, Metro. They wanted to create this I-24 smart corridor between Murfreesboro and Nashville to try and improve traffic on the interstate primarily. And they have several things that they're wanting to do with this project. We were told up front that it's basically, they're going to foot the bill for the entire project. And you know, that they've been working on it ever since. We've had several committee meetings about this, and they've told us some of the things that they're wanting to do as far as, for instance, on Murfreesboro Road and Waldron Road here in Laverne. They're talking about the traffic signals and getting the timing to correlate with each other so it doesn't slow people down as much when they're driving. But they're doing things on I-24 like more additional signage and trying to find ways to let people know if there's an incident up ahead, you know, which lanes you may need to get in, or if it'd be quicker to get off of I-24 and get on Murfreesboro Road to try and get around, you know, whatever trouble they may be having. This is a resolution of support for that project. We're moving right along with that project. They think they have some low-hanging fruit, so to speak, that they can get accomplished fairly quickly within the next year or two. But this project is moving forward, and as far as I know, they're still looking to pay the entire cost for this project. I think one of the biggest benefits for Laverne will obviously be the signalization, the timing, since we don't currently have that. And I think that would be a big benefit.
And Bruce, you mentioned that they're looking to integrate as well with some of the smartphone apps like Waze and Google Maps as well for some of that messaging.
They're looking into ways to do that. I think that's a little more of the uncertain side of it right now because you have to work with a private developer, obviously, to do that. So, you know, the app developer. So, you know, I think it is a possibility, but I think they are looking at that.
And just to ballpark, if you or Kyle can do this, if we did a study of that for the traffic lights on our own, just ballpark, what does that look like for the city? By doing this, that would save us.
I don't have a number.
It totally depends, because I mean, just doing the study alone, you know, you got to look at the cost of the signals too, and I guarantee you there's loops out there that don't even work right, or would be more costly to fix than it would be to change it out to a different type system. So it would really be hard to give you an exact figure on what it would save the city, but you're definitely looking, in my opinion, the hundreds of thousands of dollars as far as when you start adding. Like I know Madison Square Garden, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Madison Square, that loop system is, we always have issues with it. And Dick Buchanan, we have issues with that loop system. So by the time you change everything out, it's going to be substantial.
But it won't be just Waldron that's signalized in a smart solution. It'll be Murfreesboro Road plus Sam Ridley.
It'd be all of the different joint connector roads between.
It's going to be kind of like a regional setup deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what I was told, Smyrna's signalization was looking like we're looking at just Waldron Road, because I drive it every day. The infrastructure is big enough to handle what we have, the ADT, in my opinion, average daily traffic that's there. Problem we have is you have signals that aren't synchronized with a smart system, and you're looking at probably at least a few millions of dollars. And I'm thinking on up there with some double-digit millions just to make that a smart corridor just from Murfreesboro Road all the way the other side of I-24, and that's the biggest problem we have there.
One thing about it, Middle Tennessee is growing by leaps and bounds, and changes is definitely going to have to be done.
And this isn't the only answer. I mean, we've still got to look at mass transit at some point. And, you know, with Nashville's plan that they have put out, Rutherford County at some point is going to have to do something to connect to the Nashville, whatever they end up doing. So, that's coming as well, but obviously that's several more years down the road just because of the massive size of that project. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Anybody else on the funding the concept plan? That puts us down number 10, appoint or remove board members. 8N, Bruce.
Yes, sir. A is the beer board. We have one term that is vacant after the removal of one member last month. We do have 2 applications, one from Kathy Tyson and one from Raymond Healy. So this will be on the agenda for Tuesday night for consideration. Letter B is the Greenway Advisory Committee. We have one vacancy on this committee, which was created when with a resignation. We've been advertising this on Channel 3 and have not received any new applications. So if I do not have any by Tuesday, we'll remove this from the agenda. Letter C is the Laverne Housing Authority. One term expired, or expires actually today. I did speak to Dr. McMath yesterday, and she would like to stay on this committee, so I will change this memo for Tuesday's meeting. We do not have any other applications other than Dr. McMath. Letter D is the Local Emergency Planning Committee. We have 2 vacancies on this committee. One is the water treatment plant position, and the other is the environmental specialist position. For the water treatment plant position, staff would recommend that Brooks Boyette be appointed. He's the new project manager at the plant. And for the environmental specialist position, staff would recommend that Larry Boggs be appointed. He is the representative from the TPM Group, who's the company that was recently awarded that contract for hazmat. Letter E is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. This is the council member representative. Mayor, do you want to explain this one?
I'm on 3 boards, and some of the other council members is just on one. So I thought maybe if somebody's interested in Park and Rec, I would give it up to let kind of even the boards out, and just put it out there and see what everybody thought. And
Okay. Letter F is the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. We have one vacancy on this committee, which was vacated a couple months ago, unfortunately due to a death. We have been advertising this committee on Channel 3, have not received any applications. Here again, if I do not receive any by Tuesday, we'll take this off of the agenda. The next 7 or 8 items under this board and committee members are just information purposes only. We have a lot of terms that expire at the end of December. 10G is the beer board where the term for Michael Jolly expires at the end of December. We will contact him to see if he wishes to remain on this board, and we will begin advertising it on Channel 3. Letter H is the Greenway Advisory Committee, where the term for Robert Lee will expire at the end of December. Here again, we'll contact him and begin advertising this position. Letter I is the Historical Preservation Advisory Committee. The term for Tony Venato will expire at the end of December. We will contact him to see if he wishes to remain, and we will begin advertising this position on Channel 3. Letter J is the Library Board. We have 2 positions that expire at the end of December, that being Montique Luster and Dan Garrett. We will contact them to see if they wish to remain on this board, and we'll begin advertising these positions as well. Letter K is the Local Emergency Planning Committee. There are 5 terms that expire at the end of December. It's Chris Clark, A.C. Davis, Chip Davis, Ricky McCormick, and myself. We'll contact all of them, make sure they wish to remain on the committee. I guess I'll remain on the committee. This will not be on the agenda for Tuesday, but it'll be on for the January meeting. Letter L is the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. One term expires at the end of December, that being Michael Dial. So we will contact him and also begin advertising this position. Letter M is the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. The term for Doug Schaefer will expire at the end of December. So we will make contact with him and begin advertising that position. And last but not least is the Stormwater Appeals and Advisory Board. The term for Earl Garvin Jr. expires at the end of December. And here again, we will contact him and begin advertising this position. Are there any questions on any of those boards or committees?
I've got a question, Bruce.
Yes.
On the appointments, now, I remember Michael Dowell because he had came and asked me about it. When there's a position that's opening and we get a new individual, is it a statutory rule that we just let them finish that out? Or why doesn't that individual go 4 years?
When he was appointed, it was to finish the existing term that was already in play.
Okay.
So we're just finishing that term, and when he was appointed back in, which board was he on? That was Parks and Rec. He was just appointed back in October. But he is just finishing that 2-month term. So the term doesn't actually start over until after December 31st.
Okay.
No more.
Is there a particular reason for that?
The main reason is just try to keep consistency on the expiration dates.
Okay.
We used to do that where we would just appoint somebody for 4 years or whatnot. And you can see a lot of the boards have different expiration dates. Sometimes we'll have one or two boards that may have somebody that expires in January, February, and then somebody will expire like 4 or 5 months later. So instead of just trying to consolidate all of that and keep those dates consistent, we try to keep those expiration dates the same.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything else? We'll move on to number 11. Number 11 is a discussion motion to consider widening Carruthers Road between McCall Lane and Mountaintop Trail. Alderman Cole.
I was approached by several of our bus drivers who live and work through this area. And Mayor, they said that one of them had spoken to you last year about this concern as well, that with all the traffic on Carruthers, they're actually having to stop the buses, specifically whenever they're picking up kids. They've got kids in the buses. They're having to stop anytime a truck or I know we've had some tractor trailers going through there with some of the construction. They're having to actually stop the buses out of concern that they're going to run the bus off the road or flip it, which would, of course, injure themselves, injure the children especially. Their concern is that the road is too narrow for that. If you look back through there, that's where I believe it's Brookside Phase 2 is being built. Also, past that, on into Davidson County, there's several large homes and some townhome subdivisions being built back in there. And that's just kind of a shortcut for those tractor trailers and those large trucks to use to get their materials through there. But again, it's putting kids at risk. And so I know Leanne, who had signed up to speak, she had spoken to you earlier, and I believe she'd spoken to Bruce or Kyle. She said she'd spoken to somebody else. She spoke with Garland about some of the concerns there. And I know another school bus driver who wasn't able to make it today, but will be here Tuesday. They've got some concerns about the width of that road and those as far as the safety for the children.
You're right. I was approached a while back about bus drivers having problems, and then me and Garland, we've looked at it, and we both spoke with Leanne today, and we're gonna go back there out there Monday after staff meeting and look at it. But to really cure the problem is not going to be an easy fix the bridge is too narrow, and the road is too narrow, which that's corresponds with a lot of the roads in Laverne, but you know, we brought this to attention, and me and Public Works Director is going to go out there Monday and look at it, but to really fix the problem, that bridge needs to be taken out and widened, and then you got a ditch. If you widen the road on one side, you got a drop off, so you'd have to pipe that side. So, you know, to fix it the way it needs to be fixed would be a major cost. You know, it could run in between $500,000 and $1 million. But me and Garland's gonna go out there Monday and look at it and see if it's anything we can do within reason. But to fix it right, you know, it's gonna be a costly deal. And you know, me and Garland look at it. We'll come back to the council and tell her what, you know, supposed to need to be done. It could be that we could do just a little bit of work and make it better, but to fix it right, I mean, it's definitely going to be a major deal.
So is the problem mainly with heavy trucks and heavy equipment? Is that what she's saying?
Well, also large trucks as far as like F-150s that go through there. She'd mentioned to me tractor trailers, concrete mixers, which eventually that will be alleviated as for the tractor trailers and the concrete trucks as that is being built. I know that has been an ongoing progress for, I would say, at least a decade because of the housing market. I mean, that whole area, phase 2 never started until, I would say, probably last year or so, and then the area even back beyond there, which is into Davidson County, their progress had stopped for probably 5 or 6 years as far as construction, and that's picking back up.
I know the road was widened from that point up when one of the subdivisions was put in, but it stopped right there at Mountaintop. I think the developer paid for it. Like I say, it's just something we look at, put it on it's just like Mason Road. They have the same problem at Mason Road. We got a bunch of these roads that's been here a long time that it's in the same shape, and it's going to cost. You know, it's all of them needs to be fixed, and is the cost of fixing it. You know, Old National Highway, it needs widening. Walden Road from the three-way stop all the way to the school needs to be. You know, it's a number of roads that needs some attention. I guess you got to prioritize, you know, which one needs to be done the quickest. But it's no doubt, you know, that road needs to be improved, just like probably a dozen more. But me and Garland's gonna go look at it, and we talked to Ms. Hayes, and maybe it can be something done to help it. But to cure the problem, it's going to be a major project out there. Because me and Garland done was about a year or two ago. We looked at this deal before, you know.
To alleviate some of the problem, could we put a weight restriction on that road?
You can, but they ain't gonna stop them. The main thing is the school buses. You know, the school buses and the traffic on it. You know, if they can cut through the subdivision, the buses go through the subdivision, that kind of cures the bus problem. But I think she said she had one stop right there in the curve, I think. Mm-hmm. And, you know, that eliminates going through. But when that kid don't go to school or out, she can go through the subdivision, and it sort of eliminates her problem. But the other problem with everything else, it's just a narrow road, just like Mason and 10 or 12 more roads.
So is it mainly on that one corner there?
Well, it's the whole street, really. You can't see it, but I'm pretty well familiar with that property because my family had owned that Brookside property for 200 years, so I'm very familiar with that area. You know, that used to be a gravel road until just a few years ago, and it was asphalted. But that's just an old country road, like 90% of the roads, 90% of the roads in Laverne, you know, just country roads. It was dirt and then gravel and then paved, you know.
And one of the problems with it, though, is the fact that much like Blair Road, it's become a major thoroughfare for people to cut through, whether they're trying to get to Nolensville, Brentwood. They can cut straight through there, hit Old Hickory Boulevard, Burkett, and cut right through. You're avoiding the interstate. We see many people coming from Blair to cut as far as cutting through back roads. And Glenn, can you go back to the previous shot? One more, please. No, the far away with the bridge. There you go. Right after that road is where the city limits are. So this right here is a narrow road, but it's primarily the curve they're having they're having to stop on. When Brookside was built, Mitchell Bowman was the one who widened the other portion, the other major curve there of Carruthers.
So, as this would be an expensive project and one on the list for improvement, I think maybe I'm not being clear how I'm describing it, but if there's a lot of heavy traffic like mixer trucks and semi trucks, and we can eliminate some of those with a sign that it gives it a weight restriction, that may help alleviate, not eliminate, but help alleviate some of, and as a temporary solution until we have a more long-term plan, is kind of what I was thinking.
Well, the concern is they don't even abide by that on Blair or any other roads. Is that right, Garland?
If the ticket's high enough, it'll stop them.
Well, yeah, but I talked to the bus driver today, and she said, you know, when she don't have to take pick up that kid in that curve, she could come through the subdivision, you know, and it's not a big issue. But getting back to the road, it's too narrow. Yeah, it's that road under today's standards, you know, we will not meet it, just like 90% of them. But, you know, we know what needs to be done. It's just going to be costly. Just like Mason Road and the rest of them, it's going to be costly.
There's 3 or 4 houses back there on that curve. You can see some of the driveways here, but so it's not an issue where just you can basically wait it out and age out the kid. I mean, kids are gonna, you know, families are gonna grow, people are gonna sell their houses, and other people are gonna buy them. And I don't want to see us on TV where, you know, we're having to explain, yes, we knew about one of these problems, but we didn't do anything, and there's children, you know, hurt.
How far is it from the center of that curve to the nearest intersection where she could go through? In other words, it looks like on here, it looks like 3 or 4 houses either way walking down. My son walks down 5 houses down to the stop sign at the end of my street. Is that a possibility here?
Well, I think whether it's, see, at the end of that brown, I think the bus turns around, right? They turn around, and that's kind of a hill, and when you turn around, I think she at least pulls in a backs in, and then she turns around, and see, that's kind of a hill, and if it's a certain time of day, if it's a bunch of cars coming by there, she said that she's got to wait sometimes 10, 12, 15, 20 cars so she can pull back out. But right there where the end of the brown, it looked like the brown road ends and that street runs up there to them cluster of houses, that's where her last stop is, because that's the end of the city limits, and that's where the bus is always turned around.
And there's no sidewalks on this stretch of road. Again, the road is very narrow. It's also a hill. You go straight up. If you're going up that hill, if you're walking up one side, you can't see the other coming till you're at the top.
Yes, no doubt. I mean, it's no doubt that road needs widening. You know, I don't think nobody's disagreeing with it not being widening, but you know, me and Garland had to look at it and, you know, you have to engineer it and, you know, what's gonna be the cost of it, and then, you know, just like Mason Road, we got a bunch of roads that needs the same thing. You know, do we start with this one? Do we start with Mason? Do we start with Walden? Start with Old National Highway? Blair Road, you know, where, you know, we definitely, the city, you know, cannot fix all the roads without something major, you know. In the past, on the planning commission, you know, we have made the developers do as much off-site, and then they pay an impact fee for roads. But, you know, it's no doubt the road could use improvement. I don't think nobody in this room don't want that road to be improved. We just got to find the funds and the means to do it. Anybody else? We've had a good discussion. Anybody else have any comments on this road? I know the fire department, I'm sure, has went out there on occasions. What do y'all input on it?
Wherever you find that the large trucks have problems, we're gonna have the same problem. I mean, getting in and out of that area. Recently had a house fire out there, and we can get through there, but we're also clearing traffic as far as large trucks, big sirens, big lights, things like that. Our biggest problem is, along with the police department, is when they yield the right of way, do they have somewhere to go? Mm-hmm. And so we have to be easy going around those folks, trying to do the right thing and get out of the way. Reason I raised my hand real quick, and I don't mean to interrupt, and maybe this is off the subject. Real quick, approximately Monday night, we started getting overdose calls left and right. We did 7 that were not breathing. We Narcaned these folks. They're alive and well today. Contacted the police department knowing that there was a trend going on. This morning I got a text, and they found the culprit. So that was what I raised my hand for, is to tell you that, you know, the police department hopefully shut that down. But it's been a busy week.
But my dear, on the road, I'm all for widening it. We just need to find the money. Find the money to. I like to widen it, and like to widen Mason Road.
Well, the first part would be similar to what you proposed for Old Nashville Highway, which is to start the engineering to have a look to see what it would take.
We could get with, I guess, the Kyle and the new engineer. We can sure get them to look at it. That'd be the first step. And I know if we get the people don't like to say get the ball rolling on it, but you know, we got to have a start somewhere. I know I'm excited anytime we talk about widening, improving roads, because you know we got a lot of roads that needs improvement. Anybody else? Number 11 is the last item. Now we're down to mayor and alderman comments. Alderman Cole.
No, thank you.
Alderman Brown.
Well, it's early, but I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. Hope that everyone's safe and enjoys time with their families.
Alderman Jones.
Just I wish everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. And also I look for everyone to come out Saturday to the Trail of Lights. Look forward to another year and another festive occasion.
Vice Mayor Green.
No.
I want to thank Bob for coming up at the Citizens Forum. I think he got a great idea. The the more form, he's talked about, Murfreesboro done the same thing, put a 6-month freeze on, condos and apartments. And I think that's something that well needs to be looked into. I think it's a good idea. And I'm right again, Bob. And, Christmas for kids and seniors, December the 13th at Domino's. I think profit sales for Christmas and kids is going to go for baskets and the seniors. Good deal. Be sure, December the 13th, eat at Domino's.
Mayor,
Mayor?
December the 4th, Firehouse Subs in
Yeah, I'm getting to
Smyrna.
that.
Okay.
Yeah. Domino's is on the 13th.
Domino's 13th. Let's get this other one first, though.
Okay, that's going to be next. December the 4th is at Firehouse Subs from 4 to 9.
Yes.
Is that right?
And then,
Sonic.
have you got Sonic?
You want to do it?
No, go ahead. Whoever gave you that put it backwards, so it should have been in calendar order.
Okay.
Not if you're saving the best for last.
Well, see, I put the 13th, 4th, and the 8th. That's just to mix you up.
No, they're trying to mess you up. Like Saffron Morpho track.
Yeah. But the Sonic is on December the 8th. That's Sonic. That's for the Laverne Police Department and Laverne Fire Department. They're car hopping. That's always draws a good crowd. And most of the time, Santa Claus shows up on that one.
Santa Claus is usually there, and Mrs. Claus was one year with him, but
You want to go ahead and do this, Chief?
we had. Well, I can tell you more about it than you know, I assure you, because we froze to death out there every year we've done it. But Debbie is so good to us over there. Debbie and Summer have been just super. And there have been 2 years in a row that it's taken a pickup truck to haul the new toys back over here that people have donated in addition to their monetary contributions too. And it's fun. PD and FD have a good time.
Can I do the next one?
I don't know, what is it?
It says PD needs non-perishable items for needed families and seniors' food.
Yes, we do. We did the food boxes at Thanksgiving, and people came out and were just overwhelmingly generous and gracious this year. Probably the best year we've had in a while. But we will need some dry food and canned food items, especially for children and seniors, for our Christmas visits with them too.
Well, I'm going to do the next one, Chief. The Parade of Lights is Saturday, December the 2nd. The seniors will be serving hot chocolate and cookies. It starts at the park and ends at City Hall, the lighting of the tree. I think the Grand Marshal is former Mayor Shirley Winfrey. She's going to be lighting the tree this year. Yeah. In past, the mayor's always flipped the switch, but the Grand Marshal's going to flip the switch. And I think the B&B family of fireworks is going to do the fireworks, and that's always a good show. It's always a good show.
You forgot to tell them it starts promptly at 6 p.m. though.
Go ahead, Chief, go ahead.
Well, you forgot to tell them that part.
Well, I'm trying to get there. And then just a reminder, you know, the City Hall will be closed Monday and Tuesday, 25th and 26th for Christmas. I think it falls on a don't it fall on a Monday and Tuesday, Bruce?
Sunday is Christmas.
Sunday. So we'll be closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And that's all I got. You got anything else, Chief?
No, sir.
All right, I call this meeting workshop over.